Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to do a quick little walkthrough of my finished October almost daily album. I don't pressure myself to do this particular project, well any project really, on a daily basis. I do it when I feel like it. I do it when I've got photos that I want to put in here. It's a totally my choice kind of project, hence the almost daily. But as you can see, this is a chunky little beast, so I haven't counted them. I'm not sure how many pages are actually in here. This year, instead of an album, I made myself a traveler's notebook. So I constructed this vinyl cover, this clear vinyl full shaker cover, which I totally adore. I did post a tutorial for that, but that is over on my Patreon site, as are a lot of the process videos for the contents of these notebooks. You can always pop on over and have a look at those videos at any time. The content over there never gets taken down. So it's a clear vinyl shaker notebook, and it also has this pretty dangly charm. It's got all sorts of little charms on here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off because it is very dangly, it is very pretty, but as far as filming videos goes, it is very noisy. So we'll take that off. This is the notebook. It is clear on both sides, and inside the notebook I have two notebook inserts, so two traveler's notebook inserts. Like I said, this is my finished album. Let me just find the center here. So these are my two inserts. What you can't see, because they're finished and I've bound them, is that I worked on these notebooks unbound. So they were just loose bits of paper. I just used the elastics of the album to keep them together while I was working on them. It meant I could shuffle pages, I could add pages in, I could take pages out. It meant I could stamp flat, I could type on them. It was a system that I have not really used before as far as traveler's notebooks or projects go, and I adored it. It was such an easy way to kind of pull things in and out. I never would have been able to get these notebooks this chunky if I had bound them to start off with. So once I was finished, I just punched them and stitched them all together. So I do actually have finished notebooks in here. In fact, I might actually take them out of the cover to show you, because it's just going to be that little bit easier to put them flat. So the covers I literally just made with some paper. I was working with a few different collections, but my general theme, as you may be able to tell, was Pinkoween. So I didn't really want to add orange. I did orange last year. It's not one of my favorite colors, so I decided just to skip it this year, and I would just do pink and black and white, and just do Pinkoween, which worked fine, except that a lot of the collections are orange. They have orange in them. So I ended up buying the 31 collection from Pixma Marketing, which is lovely. It's a gorgeous collection, but I didn't use I wouldn't even say nearly half of it, because there was so much orange in there, and I had kind of set this rule for myself. About halfway through October, I decided to maybe just try and eke that rule out a little bit and allow a little bit of orange. There is a bit more orange in volume 2 here. But it was still, so this project still ended up being kind of mostly stash based. I was mostly just diving into my stash to find pink and black and white papers. So there's not a particular collection in here, but there is a lot of the 31 kind of embellishments. I picked out the pink ones. So I just made a really plain notebook cover. This paper kind of features a lot in here, and it's just one I made myself. So this is like regular computer paper that I like tea stained, except I tried to tea stain it with a pink fruit tea, which didn't work very well. I ended up tea staining it just with watercolors. So it was a fun kind of experiment. The results weren't quite what I was expecting. It did mean that the paper was like super delicate, so I've had to use it really carefully. This one, for instance, is glued onto a backing cardstock, which just makes it that little bit more secure. I could never have used a cover just with that paper alone. The other kind of kit or collection that I used during October was from Nellie and Clem, a digital collection, spooky Halloween kit, and it's going to struggle here because of the black cover, but it was one of my favorite things of the month, and it's a lot in here. I was part of the guest design team for October, so I was lucky enough to be sent that kit. My first little page in here was actually made before October, just kind of setting out a fun selfie anyway, but kind of setting out my intentions, I guess, for the month. You can see here, so this is a 31 card. Another thing about making these kind of notebooks myself is it meant that I could just pop in this little pocket page. So I used a 6x8 pocket page, and I just trimmed off the holes that would normally be on there, folded it in half and popped it into my notebook. Another element from that digital kit is this Boo, which is just a tiny little die cut, but Danielle provides PNG files for that kit, which means I could blow it up super huge. I cut that out on my silhouette, and then I added some shimmery glitter paste before I adhered it onto another one of those bits of tea stain paper. There were a few pages that I kind of went back after I filmed my last favorites video. I went back and did actually finish the notebook, so filled out the last few pages. One of the things that I just added in here was the playlist that I had been listening to in October. I just printed it out on some vellum and glued that onto the page, and then added just some little foam alphas. I've used a lot of foam and chipboard and like puffy stickers in here. Those are things that I wouldn't have been able to do in an already bound notebook. So this was the little bit of kind of extra playroom that I got from having that unbound system as I went through the month. This particular page was all sort of ruffled fringe papers, again just out of my stash. None of those are kind of Halloween things. I added a few little Halloween embellishments, and I actually posted this process as a reel over on Instagram. That was a fun one to put together, and again, like, just so much texture. That was kind of my aim, because I didn't have necessarily a Halloween collection to work with. My kind of aim was just to get as much kind of texture in there as I could. On the back, I had a little bit of a kind of ghost story that I've again just typed onto my vellum. This is a pink paisley vellum. It's gold on one side, which was kind of my only other caveat for the kind of colors. I didn't mind adding metallics, so I've got gold, and it just so happened that on the back of the gold it looked pink. So I typed out my story directly onto the vellum, and it was kind of a story I didn't have a photo for, so I ended up finding this little TV cut file in the Silhouette store, cut that all out of pink cards, and I stamped my little title in here. And then on my last Patreon live stream, they helped me kind of finish off this page. So we added a little bit of kind of distressing on the background, so it wasn't quite as white. And I did trim out some little ghosties from the Die Cuts with a View Halloween party pad, I think, was the other one that I ended up using during the month. So fussy cut out these tiny little ghost icons just to give it a little bit of cuteness. Now this particular page is another die cut from the Nellie and Clem kit, which I printed out huge and then I stitched all the way around that ghosty. I just love it. It's so much fun. Again, texture. I stamped the background, added a few little labels and elements here, and then another cute little selfie. My Halloween page, I did have a process video for this here on YouTube. This is not a spelling error. I do know how to spell Halloween. Halloween is about the book that I bought for Jack, which is about dogs at Halloween, hence the howl part. Dogs and then a cat, because there's not a lot of dogs that feature in Halloween collections, but this is using some citrus twist stamps and some really, really pretty citrus twist paper. So this is another page that I had a process video for up here on YouTube, doing a whole lot of fussy cutting. It was a page that I had this idea for. It didn't entirely turn out how I thought it was going to. It's a little bit kind of more is more, all sorts of embellishments on there. So for a simple page, it did go a little bit extravagant, but I love all the kind of like sparkles and bits and pieces on there. Also the little googly eyes. This was a very simple page that I did during a Zoom catch up with my patrons. So it's literally just a large Tim Holtz stamp, and then a bit of stitching just layered with some papers. So that was a super easy one. I painted my own Halloween mug because I don't have anything like that. So I went to a shop and did a little ceramic painting. I did this kind of eye pattern, and then when I got that Halloween party pad, it had this almost exact same pattern in the paper pad, so I had to use that on this page. This is where I kind of like started cheating a little bit and adding in some other colors. It's still very pink, but it does have that little bit of orange and some gray in there. This was just kind of a throwback page that, again, I did with my patrons from when we were children. It was a long time ago. I've loved Halloween for a very long time. So I just created this page. The story is tucked in underneath here, printed on some tags. So again, a really large title stamp from the Tim Holtz one, and just a few little tags here with the actual story on there. That's more journaling probably than I ever really do. So I've tucked that underneath the photo in the little pocket. And then I created this kind of, I just hand cut it, to be honest, this little jack-o'-lantern face, and then stitched all the way around there. That was a considerable amount of hand stitching, to be honest. Pick your poison. So here in New Zealand, and I don't have children, so it's not a particularly kind of Halloween themed month. So a lot of my album is just maybe slightly regular pictures that I've managed to make slightly creepy, just by adding some sort of pun title, to be honest. This was just a photo of a couple of cocktails we made ourselves one night, and I made it a little bit Halloween-y by using Pick Your Poison as a title. I created this foldable coffin cut file. I just made it myself in Silhouette Studio, and then added a few little stickers and embellishments. The inside was very white, so I used a bat stencil, and again that's something I just created myself in Silhouette, and then added a little bit of distressing just to tone down that whiteness a little bit. On the back of this page, it was starting to get a little bit full. This is, again, that really delicate paper, so I wanted to be super careful with what I added to this page. I used a hexagon punch and just some of the scrap bits of paper that I had left over to create my own sort of pattern paper, which I turned into a pocket to add a very large tag. This is, again, that very big Tim Holtz stamp. All about stupid allergies, spring allergies. It's the worst part of October. And again, I used the back to do my journaling on. So another little interactive element. I carefully put that back. And then the last page in this particular notebook is again that 3x4 pocket page, which I was just documenting not only the Halloween ghost story book that I was reading in October, but also the bookmark that I made specifically for it. So that is volume 1, my first notebook. You can see it's not a huge amount of pages, but it is very chunky, and I credit that entirely to the system of not having it bound beforehand. So I pull out my second volume. This one is actually even thicker than the first one. This one just has a regular pattern paper. This is from the Hey Pumpkin collection from last year. Loved the little cat faces on here. And I just created this little cluster on the front. When I was going through my stash, I found a whole page of these Hambly Press rub-ons, these label rub-ons, and I thought that would be perfect for October Daily, so I pulled them out and popped them in my stash. And when I went to use them, they were completely dried up. Completely dried up. So sad. So what I ended up doing was just leaving the rub-on on its backing sheet. I just trimmed it out and flipped it over so that it kind of has its own embellishment, but it is definitely no longer a rub-on. This is another one of the Nellie and Clem printables, blown up huge and stitched around the outside again. Such a simple technique, and one I repeated again and again because I just love how it turned out. The actual printable has, I think it's sort of yellow, kind of a yellowy orange, and I didn't want yellow in here, so all I did was grab a gold gel pen and just color in over the top of it. So I've got pink and gold, which totally matches my theme. When I was adhering this down, I just left a little gap in the adhesion so that I could pop in this little tag, which is again another one of the printables. I did add some little flaps on the outside of that so it doesn't pull out. It well, it doesn't come out. You can see here, I can just tip it out for you. It just stops it from pulling all the way out every time. Another printable from Nellie and Clem, and again this one had kind of an orange sort of title in here, and so when I trimmed this out I cut it with my silhouette, so I just made sure to cut out that title and I added some pink glitter paper in behind there. I also just cut a little slit in here just with a craft knife so that I could tuck in my little tag which has my photo and my journaling on the back. Now this vellum overlay is just an image I grabbed off Shutterstock, and it's purely there. You'll see why when I get to the back half of it. It just happens that when I was finishing the notebook, I wanted to add a vellum insert in, so I needed something on the front here. So this is where this kind of filler page comes in. Now I have to admit I totally stole my title here, Tricks for Treats Only, from my friend Mel. She comes up with the best pun titles. I couldn't help but steal this one for my little Lil here, who definitely does not get out of bed for anything less than treats. And this is another one of those pages where I did a bit of fussy cutting, a bit of punching, and just added in a few little die cuts, little pieces that I had left, and then added a few sequins on there as well. This was a couple of pages that I did with my patrons. This mixed media piece was something that I did before October. I did with them. We put together this mixed media sheet and it had stamping, and then I trimmed it all out as things I could use in October. So one of these sheets became a page in my notebook. One I actually made into a bound notebook myself so that I could keep notes on the photos that I wanted to do in October. And when it came to putting the page together, it was a simple case of just adding my photo, a little bit of journaling, and I threw in a few sequins so that it would tie together with this page here, which I have used punched paper, little sequins, and French knots to kind of create these little embellishments for what is otherwise a pretty simple page with another pun title, More Books. More books. Those are again just books that I bought for Jack for October. Now my little ombi, that's zombie with no sleep, page was a process video here on YouTube using Alice's, I can't remember what she called them, to be honest. They were like coffin clipboards, like embellished coffin clipboards. I loved the concept and I wanted to sort of transform that into a notebook page, which is what I did here. Now this is a fun little page. There wasn't a whole lot of kind of sequin pages in here, which seemed strange for me. I mean, I do have a whole sequin cover, so I guess it's not too bad. I bought some Halloween candy and I just took a kind of shot of it in the bowl, and then I added some tulle over the top and I stitched in my shaker pocket in the shape of a cobweb. I don't have a process video for this. Not yet. I did film one, I just haven't edited it and got it up. So if you want to see that, leave me a comment, let me know, because I am so pleased with how this page turned out. The other page I kept really simple. I used that large Tim Holtz stamp again as a repeat pattern, and then I've just got a little folded photo here with my hidden journaling underneath, just showing all the candies that I bought. This was another kind of filler in page, definitely inspired by Veronica Creates. I ended up watching more Halloween movies than I kind of thought I was going to in October, so I printed them all out just on a 4x6 photo, and then I stitched that onto the page and added a few embellishments. So that was a super easy page to put together, and I do love how that turned out. Now my blood red roses here, my blood red blooms, this was another page on my YouTube channel here. I will just link all of the October Daily playlist for you if you haven't seen these and you want to have a look. But this one here, I wanted to keep the page super monochromatic, just black and white, so that all of the colored focus would be on my flower. This was another kind of filler page that I had in here. Again, another pun title, I'm here for the booze. I managed to find myself some spooky gin, which was decidedly not spooky, I've got to say, for October. And so I just made a really simple page using some leftover pieces of paper that I had. I glued down 3 little wax seals. I love this wee white skull one, so cute. And this one's sort of transparent with some flowers that I had dried in there. A really simple page. It doesn't need a whole lot of kind of journaling about it. I've actually used this photo in Project Life as well. So all done. I didn't end up putting anything on to the back of this. This is again another Hambly paper that I've stuck in here. I'm just kind of leaving it more as a foil to each page. So I liked the darkness against this lightness. And then I liked the patterned page against this, which ended up just being a kind of filler in page. I had bit of fun one night just making some little embellishments with some leftover bits and pieces. So I've got papers and stickers and die cuts from that 31 collection mostly. I had no other purpose for these little embellishments, so I figured I would just pop them into my notebook here on some of those unused pages. I waited until the end of the month actually. I never took any photos of my sort of room decor until I was about to pull it all down for November. So before I did that, I just snapped a few little shots of some of the things that I had made this year. I made a little book, I made a skull wreath, a little boo sign, some silhouette bats on my wall. I really loved my room this year, so I was surprised that I hadn't documented that yet until we're just about at the end of the notebook. So I stamped a huge title, Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun, and then added a few little notebooks, a few little photos and embellishments. Again, this was just another filler page because I ended up with more pages in this notebook than I actually needed. So I did a little bit of kind of stenciling and just layering up of some papers to make kind of more of an art page. And this is the other vellum insert that this was the one I purposefully put in here. I need more coffee. That's me most mornings, to be fair, and I wanted that to go in here because the last page in this notebook is about me finally getting hold of a pumpkin spice latte. They were very late to arrive here in New Zealand. I went a couple of times and did not get them, but I finally got one. It's kind of hard to see here on camera, but this page here has another silhouette inspired texture in the background. I love how this turned out. I cut a billion little skulls and stuck them all down. This was another page that I did with my patrons. And that's it. The last page just has another one of those kind of embellishment pieces that I made. I figured the 31st was a good one to pop on the last page of the notebook and call it done. So that is my finished project, and I've got to say I really love it in comparison to last year's project, which was the first time that I have done an October almost daily. Last year I did a little 4x4 album, so this was definitely kind of more my style, doing it in a notebook, and apart from having this really fun finished notebook project at the end of it, I also discovered a new way of working in a notebook, which is just totally up my alley, especially when it comes to a larger project like this. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching if you've made it this far. If you've got any questions, let me know down below and I will answer them for you. Otherwise, thank you for spending the time here with me today. I'll see you again really soon. Bye guys.